It's another episode of the Church Solutions Podcast, and my name is Phil Thompson.
And I'm Steve Lacy.
Steve, it's episode number 360 according to Apple.
All right. We've been doing it a while, huh?
We have been doing it a while, even before Apple, but we won't get into that. I have a 360 in my Jeep, 360 cubic inch. And of course, you pointed out in the past that nobody goes by cubic inches anymore.
That's right.
Is that a 5.9 in? Is that
unless you're a Dodge?
Dodge?
Yeah. Dodge will stick the 372s on there. I'm not sure what the numbers are now, but they're big engines though.
Okay. All right. Well, look, we're not going to talk about engines, even though we seem to bring it up because we both kind of like to tinker with our cars and Jeeps and everything else. So, excuse me, last week I mentioned that we would talk about, last week we talked about getting ready for Christmas, and you brought up the point of, well, it's only early November. And it's like, yes, but people need to plan. But then I got to thinking, well, Thanksgiving's coming up, and it might be good to talk a little bit about something creative that you could do with your church for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So we blogged on this. In fact, the blog is actually already posted. If you go to blog.streamingchurch.tv, you'll see the notes of what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about 7 ideas for a fantabulous Thanksgiving church service. Fantabulous.
Yeah. So we got to start with, what churches have Thanksgiving church services? They're not talking about on Thanksgiving Day, right? Or
Probably
are you?
not. Probably not. Some churches might. The churches I've been with, we never have, but we have done kind of services either usually before Thanksgiving Day, like a Sunday.
That
or after, I guess. But
yeah.
Excuse me, I've got something in my throat. So, but there are some creative things you can do. For me personally, Thanksgiving is my favorite holiday. And has nothing to do with the pilgrims or anything like that. It's just I don't care that much for Christmas, and I think that Thanksgiving is all about gratitude. At least it is in my mind.
Yeah.
And so to me, that's wonderful because you can have family over, you can get together, you can enjoy a meal, enjoy time together. You don't have to give each other gifts. You don't have to wonder about did I get the right size shirt for my son, or something like that. So I'm a big, I should have brought some water in here. I'm a big Thanksgiving person. I like just the whole attitude behind it. And food is one thing. It doesn't have to be about food.
Yeah.
But I enjoy that. You have a big family now. So
actually, we're going to have a really slim Thanksgiving though.
Why? You've got all these kids that are married now.
They are, because they get married, and their wives' parents want to celebrate things with them. So they take them away because we get them all for Christmas.
Okay.
So they'll Tyler and Rachel are going to go to Chicago, and other kids are they're off in different places. So we're going to have a really lean Thanksgiving this year. But I think my dad would agree with you. His favorite is Thanksgiving as well. He used to kind of dread Christmas. More than once did I hear, I don't know how we're going to afford Christmas this year. So he was always concerned about the whole gift side of things. And my mother was like, full steam ahead.
Yeah, well, that happens. We're actually going up to Phoenix because my son's fiance's parents now live in Phoenix. They used to live in Seattle. And so we're going to go up. They just bought a house in Phoenix. So we're going to drive up from Tucson to Phoenix and spend Thanksgiving with them. So that'll be different for us.
Yeah.
But Christmas, my son, they bought a house, and he's big on, I'm going to spend Christmas in my house this year. And because he used to have to go up to Seattle to see his girlfriend's parents, but now they're in Phoenix. But now they're talking about going to California for some other relative, and he's mad about that. But anyhow, I digress. Sorry about that. So let's talk a little bit about some 7 ideas for a fantabulous. Notice I say that word a lot. Fantabulous Thanksgiving church service.
Yes, even though you may have the service either just after, probably usually, like you said, it's most common before.
Yeah.
Although I have had a Thanksgiving experience with the elders of my church where we all got together.
Really? On
Yeah.
Thanksgiving?
Well, it was one of the elders of the church and just invited a bunch of people from church.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was quite interesting in that they said, come over between, 1 and 3 or something like that. And little did my wife and I know that that meant we're serving Thanksgiving dinner at 1.
You told me this one time.
Yes, we showed up and everyone was, heading on dessert. And we're like, oh my gosh.
Was that
And
Max? Was that Max deal, or is that one of the
no,
other
no,
ones?
no. This is a church in California. The guy
Oh,
was,
California. Okay,
yeah,
that's right.
and they had a family tradition that all of their guests were required to participate into is after the Thanksgiving meal, you had to go help put up Christmas lights on the house.
Oh my God, that's hideous.
Yeah, so yes, it was like number one, we show up and everyone's already eaten. And so we're having to hustle. And then once we get through eating, we're having to put the lights up on their house.
I'm getting roped into
So
that. Jeez. Wow. That
yeah,
doesn't
we
sound like a
probably
lot
didn't
of
go
fun.
back the next year, I think.
Yeah, no kidding. I would have probably left the church. All right. So let's jump into this. There's some things that you can creatively do uh, to have some kind of an event, whether it's, Thanksgiving Day at your church or Sunday. So the first thing I put down here was send everyone a personalized invitation for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Send them a text. A text.
Yes, that's probably the easiest way to do it. But you could send them a card. Yes, but the key word there is not everyone, but personalized, right?
Well, yeah, it depends on the size of your church. That could be a lot of work.
Yeah.
But the reason I brought this up was, and we've talked about this before, but there's a stat out there, and the one I found was from Forbes, said that 95% of texts are read within 3 minutes. But emails can be sit in somebody's inbox for days or even weeks. If it's my wife, it's months. But so I mean, this is a good little takeaway for anything you're going to do at church, not just Thanksgiving. Start using text your people for things, and this would be a good thing for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And
We've had this discussion. Yeah, text is a pretty common denominator priority communication method for everybody, or for a lot of people. You and I kind of get all bent out of shape about how come you don't check your email? We're all email focused people, but
right.
There's other people like, oh my gosh, you missed the Facebook post from 4 hours ago. I was like, how did you miss it? I was like, well, I only check Facebook every once a week or so. What? How do you do that?
Yeah.
So anyway,
Yeah.
different people have different means of getting
but
their communication.
But this stat, I think, holds true, at least very close on other surveys I've seen. And that is people will get the text usually and look at it relatively quickly. My wife got like 4 or 5 texts yesterday asking her to vote for a certain governor or a certain race for our gubernatorial race here in Arizona. She got 4 or 5 different texts
from the same person making her mad.
I
So
guess
she said, I'm not going to go for the other guy now.
probably the campaign. I don't know, but
yeah.
but they know they've picked up on it. I never have gotten any text about that, but they've picked up on the fact that texts are usually read relatively quickly. So we're getting kind of off trail here, but I would encourage you to text people, and even if you're not going to do a Thanksgiving service, maybe send out a text thanking people for being part of your church, maybe volunteering, show some appreciation for people. And I think that would be a good thing to do. And granted, if you're going to do personalized stuff, which I think you should, that would be a lot of work, especially if you have 100 and 200 people or more. It might be kind of challenging to do. Maybe you can divide it up among your leadership team or something. I don't know.
All right, so number 2 on our list, I really like this idea, and I've not seen it ever done.
Oh, we did it once in my church. Yeah. We did.
Oh yeah, is that? Yeah, I've not seen it done, but I read through it and I was like, wow, this looks like a great idea. So it's encourage people to write on a gratitude board at church.
Yeah.
So
pretty simple, really. You can set it up. You can use whatever means you want. You can get stuff at, Ace Hardware or Michael's or someplace where you can get craft stuff and pick up and get a board or something, and you can put something together and encourage people to show their appreciation. Go ahead.
All right. Or I'm assuming or you can even do something as simple as just a whiteboard, right? And have some markers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Because I assume it's a deal where people can just put in, I'm thankful for X, Y, and Z, and other church members will be able to see what everyone else is thankful for.
Yeah. You could use sticky notes. I mean, you don't have a lot of room to write, but you can get some fairly good size ones, and you could use sticky notes. And the biggest issue is able to read people's writing, but you can do this very simple. You can make it very simple, or you can, make it a little more pretty and do some things with it and put some decorations around it, whatever. But it just gives people an opportunity to show their appreciation, to practice gratitude, to demonstrate, this kind of thing. And other people get to see it as well.
Yeah, that's cool. I really like that idea.
Yeah, there you go.
And then this other one, the next one, I haven't seen done in a church service, but I've seen it done. I actually attended a much smaller church, and we took advantage of this, but it wasn't for Thanksgiving. But anyway, so your number 3 on your list is testimonies from members.
Yeah, schedule testimonies from members. So there's a couple of ways to do this. Like if you're doing a Thanksgiving service, like we said earlier at the beginning of the podcast, maybe you're not doing it on Thanksgiving Day, but you're doing it, the Sunday before. If you're up there speaking, doing a sermon, you're going to use illustrations usually, and you use illustrations sometimes from the Bible and different things. Well, why not use illustrations from people? So there's a couple ways to do this. One is if you're really confident in certain people that you pick out. I would pick out certain people in advance, obviously, and talk to them and see if they're willing to share a short testimony of gratitude. Personally, I would do that. I wouldn't just pick anybody out or open the forum up to anybody, just because it just might, depending on who you've got, it could take a while. They could ramble on, or if you've got a real shy congregation, you might not get anybody. I don't know. Yeah. But if you can schedule it and set it up with somebody in advance, you can either tape it. You can use your iPhone now or your Android phone and do a nice little video, very simple to do. So you could video it. Video several different testimonies of gratitude, and let your AV person play those on the screen or whatever or you could get them to come up and actually do it live, have them share live. But the key is helping people understand what you're looking for. You don't want them to go too long. And you want to be confident that they can at least articulate their gratitude.
Yeah. The safest route, like you said, is the video message. But yeah, it reminds me many, many years ago, I was part of a very small church in California, and the pastor would say, I feel led that the congregation's got message to share today. and people would speak during the service, which was a super high risk situation, but it was very memorable services. And afterwards I'm thinking, I think the pastor just didn't have enough time to prepare this week, and he called it audible when he got up there.
Got an audible from the line of scrimmage. Well, yeah. Maybe he did. I was part of a church like that too. Tex Young, a very well-known, he's been dead for a few years now, but in Tucson, Arizona in the 70s, there's a church called Grace Chapel, and before that Maranatha House. And it's a long story, but he was well loved in the non-denominational community, and even some of the people that were in denominations knew of him. And he was very famous for doing that.
Oh, really?
He actually gave me my first chance to speak. That was years ago. But yeah, he would sometimes open it up to people. And like you said, sometimes it'd be really memorable. Sometimes it would be really good. And other times it was a disaster.
Yes, I could see that.
It's like, but it never stopped him. It never stopped him from doing it,
Yeah.
Yeah, they were
It
just really
was,
big into that, so,
yeah,
but
well, yeah, our pastor would do it. I just thought, oh, John didn't prepare a message this week.
but scheduling something, getting with people to do that, maybe share 2 or 3 testimonies of gratitude, either video or live, depending on you're comfortable with the person, is, I think, a good way. All right, so let's move on here to our 7 ideas for a fantabulous Thanksgiving church service.
So you have number 4 is gratitude meditation time. What do you mean by that?
Well, so we're big on talking all the time and praying all the time, but sometimes it's good just to have a moment or two of silence and just let people meditate for a moment, on gratitude, on what they have to be thankful for, what they have to thank God for. It's just really a moment of silence. Doesn't have to be long, but a minute or 2, or maybe a little more, depending on how you feel about that. We have a real fear of silence, I think, in this Western culture that we live, and I think sometimes it's good just to be silent, and not feel like you have to be praying or saying anything. I mean, you can pray in silence, obviously, but just opening up a time in your service to just have a gratitude meditation time, just a moment where people just stop what they're doing and ponder a little bit more about the things that they have to be grateful for.
Yeah. Back to my Thanksgiving experience from where we were putting lights up. That was another tradition. We had to go around the table and everyone present what they were thankful for, which I think is a great idea. So, but I do remember that just being it's like, wow, we're late. We missed the meal. Now we got to say what we're thankful for. We don't know what anybody else had said. And then we got to put up your lights.
So they made you do it even though you missed it all?
I think so. Yeah. It was kind of a.
Did they give you any food? Did they give you any leftovers?
It was like, yeah, here we have some leftover this and
at least they
leftover
gave you
that.
that.
And we're just, it was so uncomfortable for us because
that's funny.
We just didn't get the memo that we thought it was, we're going to hang out and watch some football and fellowship and do some things and then we'll eat. But
Not the case. You're going to
no,
help them put up their lights, their Christmas lights.
And it wasn't, this is pre-text era, so they couldn't text us and go, where the heck are you? Because people there would have sent us a message going, hey,
you're late. Where are you? Yeah, not the case. Yeah. All right. So that was number 4,
number 5.
Gratitude meditation. Number 5.
Celebrate a Thanksgiving meal and fellowship.
Yeah. So that kind of goes along. I mean, you might do this at the church or might do it in somebody's home if they have a large enough home. I mean, we're talking, what I was talking about was kind of a church-wide thing here.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be that, but I mean, I have found over the years, I mean, when I moved to Kansas and helped start this church, we had this grand opening and then we had a meal afterwards. And it was crazy. I mean, we had a lot of people. I was surprised we were able to feed everybody, but people loved it, and some people don't get into that. I mean, your pastor, my former pastor, Jeff Love, he shouldn't have mentioned his name probably. You probably don't know him anyhow, but he doesn't like that kind of stuff because he's a germophobic guy and he has a problem sometimes, I think, with somebody might be a dog hair or something in the meal. I don't know, but a lot of people do like getting together and eating, and so this would be a great opportunity. Have a Thanksgiving meal. It's a good time not just to eat, but again to get to know each other. There's a little bit of bonding. You can coordinate this.
I think I've been a part of churches over the years that have like the Sunday service before Thanksgiving. They'll have a meal after church,
And I'm saying it doesn't have to be a free for all. You can coordinate it. Your leadership team can coordinate people to bring certain dishes, and then or whatever you want to do. But it's just an opportunity. If you don't do that kind of thing, or if you haven't done it for a while at your church, you consider doing it. Lots of people like that. So not everybody does, but a lot of people do. So have a Thanksgiving meal and fellowship time.
Yeah. All right. So it's number 5. Number 6 is a neighborhood Thanksgiving meal.
Yeah. this is just the next step. I mean, this would be something to consider as well. Times are rough. I mean, there's always difficult times, and but this is not an exception. A lot of people are hurting out there, and inflation and everything else, and so maybe you could have some kind of the neighborhood that your church is in. Maybe you could open up something and have a time for the people that anybody can come by and grab a bite to eat. I don't know. It might be something worthwhile, right?
And you talk about a lot of churches will host meals for the cities, for the homeless people, and others around there, kind of as an outreach and service, serving the community thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And it helps your church with your volunteers getting the work together. Maybe even some new people that aren't volunteering currently, but they've been coming for a while. Maybe they can help out with this meal. And it's just a good thing to do. It's a good thing to reach out and help people. And again, it's all about it's not about gifts or about all these big holiday celebrations. It's about helping people and being grateful.
Yeah. All right. And number 7 on the list. What do we do there?
Stream your Thanksgiving service. And now you know that we were going to say something about streaming video, right? I mean, that's who we are. We do streaming video. But even if we didn't do streaming video as a company, I was still
feed them over the stream.
What's that?
Should we feed people over the stream?
Thank people?
No, feed.
Oh, feed people. You can't. Oh, you could point them. I don't know. You could probably come up with something. Maybe send out.
I don't think we have the technology yet.
Digital
food,
McDonald's coupons or something. I don't know.
I guess you could. Yeah.
But
I was messing with you.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's people out of town for Thanksgiving. Not everybody's around. People go out of town. Your kids are going to Chicago and different things. I mean, you can stream the service, and people can still be a part of your Thanksgiving service, and they can watch it. They could participate if they wanted to, if you had live chat going on like we offer people. But I think it's a good thing to stream. And then, there are people, again, looking for churches out there. And if they see your service and they see what you guys are doing for Thanksgiving and the spirit behind what you guys do, maybe they'll come back and actually come in person sometime if they live in your area. So I would encourage you to stream your Thanksgiving service. I encourage people to stream everything, of course. And it's not just because we do this, it's because it's 2022 and video is what people are doing today. They're watching video. And so archives, live streaming, you really should have video. And one of these days, we're going to talk about ways you can do streaming video besides Sunday. One of these days, we're going to do that.
I thought we already did that, or is that coming up?
I think it's coming up.
Oh, okay.
I know we're going to do a webinar. Aren't we going to do a webinar on that?
That's right. That's right. Yep. That's what it's all about.
So there are things you can do besides Sunday morning. The streaming, you really should consider other things. But this is one thing you could do with your special events, stream them and people can see what you're doing. And your members aren't always there, especially during the holidays. I think people leave and go places. All right. I think we're done here. People can see this at blog.streamingchurch.tv. If you want to subscribe to our podcast, it's the Church Solutions Podcast. If you want to rate us, give us a rating. We'd love to hear from you. You can send us an email support@streamingchurch.tv. But we'd love it if you would subscribe to us. You can get us anywhere you get your podcast. You'll just look for Church Solutions, and that's who we are. So there you go. All right. So happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Yes.
And
still got a few weeks, but
still a few weeks away.
Time to prepare.
You got time to prepare now. And then next week we probably will talk about ways you can really be ready for your Christmas service when it comes to streaming. So that's what we'll try to talk about next time. All right, we're done here. Thank you very much, Mr. Steve Lacy.
All right, glad to be here.
And thank you for listening or watching our Church Solutions Podcast episode today. I'm Phil Thompson. Please take care of yourselves and each other. We'll catch you again next time on another episode of the Church Solutions Podcast.